Trust you were in a much better place.
We have an amended agenda. The hour of 6 o'clock upon us. We will begin this city council meeting. We'd like to welcome everyone that is here with us this night. Appreciate you taking a few hours out of your week to come and hang out with us. So excited to get this started. So we will begin this evening with an invocation. We actually don't have one, so perhaps is Mr. Porter here? Oh yeah. Where's he's hi there he is. He was hiding, so very good. Thank you, Councilor Stoddick. So, if everyone would please rise for the invocation and remain standing after that for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sorry, I gave you away.
One of these days, Mr. Stoddick. Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this day, this beautiful, this outstanding day in our city, and we thank you for the privilege that it is to live here, to work here, to raise our families here, to attend church together here. God, this is a special place, and we thank you for it. And we would ask tonight that you would give these that lead us extraordinary wisdom. May all the things that come up on the agenda be spoken to clearly and wisely. And Father, we look forward to what's going to come. Thanks for leading us through the last couple of decades. Some amazing things have happened. We thank you for that. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Mr. Porter. We won't be able to take advantage of that here before too long, so we got to do it while we can. So, Madam Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Stoddick?
Here.
Register? Here. McGee? Here. Williams?
Here.
Very good. So we do have 4 of our 6 council members. So we do have a quorum this evening. I'd like to excuse Councilor Doty, and we believe Councilor Allgood maybe not on Zoom, so he may be joining us one way or another on Zoom. We'll see on that. But we do have a quorum to hear the items before us this evening. Are there any conflict of interest declarations from any of the council members? Okay, let the record reflect that there's no declarations stated. That moves us on to special presentations. So we do have a few of these tonight. First is a proclamation for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Kim, I saw you, so this would be for you. So I will read that, and then if you want to come to the podium afterwards and say a few words, that would be great. So this says, Domestic Violence Awareness Month Proclamation. Whereas domestic violence impacts individuals of every age, background, and belief, and whereas 1 in 4 individuals in the United States have suffered severe physical violence by an intimate partner, being deprived of their autonomy, liberty, and security, facing tremendous threats to their health and safety, and whereas approximately 15 million children are exposed to domestic violence every year, and whereas victims should have help to find the compassion, comfort, and healing they need, and abusers should be punished to the full extent of the law, and whereas Victims should have access to medical and legal service, counseling, emergency and transitional housing, and other supportive services so that they can safely escape the cycle of abuse. And whereas Advocates Against Family Violence has been serving victims of domestic abuse in Caldwell for 19 years, providing hope, healing, and strength through a range of services including secure shelter, court advocacy, counseling, child care, transitional and supportive housing, and case management. And whereas since 2019, Advocates Against Family Violence has provided services to 60,287 individuals and 29,224 safe shelter bed nights to those suffering from family violence, and each year there are more served than the previous. And whereas the City of Caldwell is an important partner in Advocates Against Family Violence's vision to create a community where people can thrive in safe and healthy relationships, now therefore, I, Jerem Wagner, Mayor of the City of Caldwell, Idaho, do hereby join national and local officials in proclaiming October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Ken, if you please come forward and take a few moments.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Every year that we do this, I stand amazed at those that we serve, and I look at the numbers. And when I first started out in this, I thought 1,500 served in a year was a lot. And now I look at the numbers that we're serving, and I look at the growth that we see, and I know that 1 in 3 of what's reported will be a victim of domestic abuse or sexual assault at some point in their lives. So 1/3 of all of that's moving in now. And so I look at, we are the only full service program in all of Canyon County to service all of those that are moving in and all of those that are here. And so right now, when I look at our numbers where we are just now currently, we are already surpassing last year's numbers with our team, and we've got an amazing staff. We've got an amazing campus. We have 110 110 units of housing. We're just finishing up our last set of 32. Mayor and Chief, I saw Chief. We had you the other day at our Domestic Violence Awareness Month kickoff with all of our other community partners, and I'm so very grateful for the support that we receive from the city and the council members and everyone involved. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you for all that you do. I know that you put your heart and soul into everything you do for the Advocates Against Family Violence and for those victims, and so we can't begin to express our gratitude to you and your entire organization, all the people that work with you, and what you mean to the entire Caldwell community. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we do have one additional proclamation to read, and this is for Arbor Day. So I'll read this into the record as well. So this states, Proclamation, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and whereas Caldwell has been recognized as a Tree City USA for the 43rd consecutive year. Now therefore, I, Jerem Wagner, Mayor of the City of Caldwell, do hereby proclaim October 11th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the City of Caldwell, and I urge all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and to support our city's community forestry program, and urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. And do we have somebody here? Except that we do not. Okay, so we will get to that, to the appropriate individual. Thank you so much. We do have 2 other special presentations First is an update report on the Bird e-scooters, and Ophelia, I saw you, if you'd come forward and please give your report.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Rob's going to pull up my presentation. Give me just a moment. Thank you, Rob. So, City of Caldwell entered into an MOU with Bird Inc. Thank you. With Bird Inc. In the month of June of this year. Here we see the scooters that you see throughout downtown Caldwell, or actually throughout the city of Caldwell. Currently, we have 50 scooters that are in our community. We launched July 13th of 2022. Here's one of the groups that we were targeting in terms of trying to provide them additional transportation, mode of transportation to our downtown and throughout our community. Here we are at the College of Idaho. There you'll see Mayor Wagner, Steve Jenkins, Economic Development Director, myself, Student President of Student Affairs at College of Idaho, Co-President, and a few others that join us that morning for the launch. We, well, I would say the group, I was a little hesitant to get on the scooters. So I actually drove behind them to make sure they were safe. So we all made it into downtown, and we patronized one of our new local businesses. This is Bond and Bevel. So there we are having coffee, spending some money. And then I think we're having some issues. So the next slide you'll see here is, Bird Inc. does allow for the city of Caldwell to access data in terms of these 50 vehicles. So city of Caldwell, this MOU allowed for them to have 250 vehicles, but we started with 50, and that's where we currently are at. Here you see the last 3 months. It's been about 3 months now. Here you see some data on the peak times, the dates when these scooters are driven throughout our community. Here you see Right Start heat maps that we have access to. So far we've had over 4,000, and I pulled this about a week and a half ago, so 4,000 plus rides. Your average rider is a 3.3, which is above average, is what they let me know. Which means that these individuals are reusing the scooters over and over. And you'll see the heat map there shows that the intended group that we target, one of the intended groups that we target is actually one of the main users, which is the C of I students. 25% of those rides have come from those students. And here's just a summary. 50 e-scooters is what we have. 12,000 plus miles have been ridden, 4,000 plus rides. Geofencing is very unique. We did have to geofence a couple of the areas. Councilman Doty reached out, or Mayor, I believe it was you that reached out, had concerns in terms of the scooters being on the Fairview Golf Course there. So it was a quick call to Bird to address those situations, any situations that we've come across. It's just an email away. We connect with them and they geofence that area. What geofencing means is that the scooters are not able to operate in those areas. So I know the chief is here. Oh, there he is. I think I'd asked him about maybe a month ago if there had been any issues with the scooters, and my recollection from our conversation is that no issues so far. So everything's been great. Bird was going to join us this evening via Zoom. Unfortunately, she had other emergencies to attend to. So tonight, that's my report update on Bird Scooter, but I do stand for any questions.
Very good. Thank you so much. Any questions from any council members? Councilor McGee?
Thank you, Mayor. And this sounds like positive news. I was trying to remember in our initial discussion if whether or not there were some estimated numbers and how these numbers compare. They look positive, and it looks like the community is using them. But did we have some original estimation, and how do these numbers compare to that?
Yeah, we don't have any estimate. We didn't have any estimations. Our conversations with Bird is just really comparing us to other cities that are using them. We are in the Treasure Valley or in Southwest Idaho. It's City of Boise and Caldwell are the only ones that are using those scooters. We did have Boise State Public Radio reach out to us. They did a story on us in terms of, Caldwell really thinking outside the box and offering their residents these modes of transportation. When I spoke with Bird, my understanding is that these numbers look amazing compared to other communities throughout the USA. So they're very happy with the ridership and the communities using the scooters.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Maybe just trying to, I don't know if you know the answer or not. Is there any way to estimate like how many vehicle trips this has saved? I'm guessing obviously 12,000 plus miles, so there's got to be hundreds, if not even more than that, thousands of vehicle trips. I imagine that these scooters have helped to eliminate from the roads.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a story. During the first week, we had, because they're able to track these scooters, we had a student from CFI ride the scooter to get to Canyon Hill. This student, as you are aware, anytime you park your scooter, anyone can come by and pick it up and activate it and use it. Well, this individual went to Canyon Hill, left the scooter behind the cemetery office so he can get back, right, to, I'm assuming, College of Idaho. Well, one of the city employees thought it was our property, so she locked that up, and therefore student couldn't get back. So we had to call Bird and connect her with our employee so that the scooter can be out there. So I would say, my understanding from College of Idaho is that 18 to 20% of their students are international students. So I don't have those numbers, but I'm going to assume, because there's that large 25% are coming from College of Idaho, I'm assuming those students don't have a mode of transportation. I believe you, Mayor, have also used a scooter to get to ribbon cuttings from the office, so.
Yeah, today, I was at a conference in Boise, in Garden City, at the Riverside, and I had a lunch, with the Idaho Voices for Children, I think was doing a lunch today, and so I went to get in my car, and I was like, why am I taking my car? So I jumped on a Bird and scooted from the Riverside Hotel to downtown Boise, and then back, so I actually just did that. I know it wasn't in Caldwell, but took a couple of couple of cars off the road today, so. Yep. It was a beautiful ride. It was a beautiful day. So yes, thank you so much. So yeah, I appreciate that update and to hear that. That's going very well. So thank you so much for all you've done with that.
Thank you.
Our next update will be from Treasure Valley Community College. If you'll please come forward. Thank you so much. It's great to see you all here tonight. And if you would please introduce also your distinguished guests that are here with you.
All right. Good evening. My name is Dr. Dana Young, and I'm the president of Treasure Valley Community College. And with me this evening is the Vice President of Academic Affairs, Eddie Alves, and the Associate Vice President of College and Public Relations, Abby Lee. So Mayor Wagner and members of the City Council, it's always our pleasure to be able to come and share with you what's happening at TVCC Caldwell Center. Do we have the, yes, like that, do we have? Oh, you did? All right, thank you. I just looked up there and didn't see that pretty picture. All right, so a quick little bit of history. It'll only take us about 2 hours. Just kidding. So about 20 years ago, in 2003, we were invited to come to Caldwell to help train paraeducators, which are teaching assistants. And that effort began to grow. And as we worked with the city and other partners to meet all of the Caldwell workforce needs, we moved into the El Mercado Center with support from Urban Renewal and Community Partnerships of Idaho. Those partnerships grew, and our student enrollment increased, and we started making plans for a new TVCC center in 2007 with Urban Renewal and local developers. In fact, many of you might know that we actually had a groundbreaking at Sky Ranch. Oh, let me go back. There, it's on the right, Sky Ranch. So we actually did a groundbreaking, and Steve Foltz, who's here with us this evening, and L.J. Waite were such great advocates of ensuring that Caldwell had a community college partnership. And then 2008 happened, and everybody remembers what happened in 2008. So we went into that recession, but fortunately, we still had strong partnerships, and there was still a great need. And with generous support from Caldwell Urban Renewal, we moved into the beautiful center that you see up here on the screen at Indian Creek. I was fortunate enough to be president when we did the ribbon cutting on that new center. It was one of the first things I did when I came here, and I thought, wow, this is beautiful. I was so impressed with Caldwell's commitment and the concept of anchoring downtown renewal with an emphasis on education. The foundation of the TVCC Nancola Center is our partnership with the City of Caldwell, so thank you. We are committed to being good partners and to staying in Caldwell. I know many of you know this history, but I thought a perspective this evening would be helpful as we talk about where we are and where our focus will be moving forward. Now I'd like to turn it over to Eddie Alves. He's going to share a little bit of data with you about our enrollment and our programs.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. If you've been around for the last 3 or 4 years, you would have found that a big thing called the pandemic hit the world, and everybody went home. Everybody went home from community colleges as well as colleges and universities across the United States. And if you have a couple of children at home, you'll find that at the end of the pandemic, one amazing thing happened. One of those children couldn't wait to go back to school, and the other child never wanted to go back to school ever again. And that has been our reality at community college level. Our students, half of them have come back, and half of them have wanted to stay home, and they are now taking online classes. You don't have to watch TV too long to see the competition for online classes are from Southern New Hampshire University. I know we're a little far from Southern New Hampshire, but the fact is, students can now take classes from anywhere in the country. As you see from the numbers above, our enrollment has significantly decreased here in the Caldwell Center. I just want you to know at TVCC, our enrollment numbers across the board are about flat. But what we're seeing is less and less students come to live classes, and particularly in the Caldwell Center. Over the last 3 years, we've served about 1,150 students here in your Caldwell community. These are live students that have come to TVCC. But as you see in the graph, we have kind of had to, over time, divide those students into 4 different categories. Those are students that only come to Caldwell. We have students that go to Caldwell and take online classes. Then we have a few students that run back and forth between Ontario and Caldwell and take classes. And then a very few number of those also do some combination of Caldwell, Ontario, and online classes. As you can see from the numbers, our enrollment has significantly decreased here in the Caldwell Center. And so we've had these conversations about utilization of the building. What do we do with the building? How do we utilize this beautiful facility that the City of Caldwell has been partners with us? And we have utilized it in a number of different ways. We've had the City of Caldwell folks clearly been over there, did a number of meetings. We have the City Fire Department utilizes part of that building. Of course, the City Chamber of Commerce has been there. We have a TRIO program, and TRIO program is not just for TVCC. TRIO program is a federal program designed to help your Caldwell students go to any school that they like. And so they help them with admissions and enrollment and those type of pieces. If they want to go to Boise State, they want to go to NNU. We do some veteran services there. We have quite a large helicopter program, as most of you know, and I'll talk about that in just a second. And a lot of those students are veterans. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we have hosted the Regional 3 School Superintendents conferences over there at the Caldwell Center. Dr. Crabb from NNU is currently teaching a class over here at the Caldwell Center for us here at TVCC. And as you know, we have a really good partnership with College of Western Idaho. Down here on Blaine, we've had a shared billboard for a number of years, and we continue to work with them to try to serve all the students in the Caldwell area. Of course, high school partnerships are critical for us. These are some of the big ones for us: Canyon Springs High School, Elevate, Union High School. We've taught a lot of automation classes at Union High School. For a number of years, we were teaching automation classes inside of Simplot, but since the pandemic, we have worked in our way to get back in there. After the pandemic, it kind of got shut down. But we have great partnerships with everybody here in Caldwell and the businesses here in Caldwell, as well as Caldwell High School, iSuccess Virtual Education Academy, and some others. So we talked about where do we go with the Caldwell Center. We want to make sure that building's utilized. We also want to be there. We are super excited about staying in Caldwell. We have really focused on 4 particular areas over here in the Caldwell Center. Our aviation helicopter program is full, and so if you're not aware, we have a partnership with Silverhawk Aviation out on the highway, and we take 24 students every fall and 24 students every spring, and we had 24 students this fall, and we have a waiting list. Of course, some of those classes a lot of those regular classes are in the Caldwell Center. Of course, a lot of those classes are out there at the airport where we're flying those students. Addiction studies has been a big focus here in the Caldwell Center. It continues to grow a little bit for us. We just recently completed an Oregon Health Authority certification that will certified peer recovery mentors, and that certification is good here in the state of Idaho as well, so we're excited about that. Cybersecurity is, of course, a growing field, and we just finished a partnership agreement with Boise State to ensure that their students that come here at the Caldwell Center go through 2 years of the cybersecurity program with TVCC, can seamlessly transfer to 2 years in Boise State and finish their 4-year degree. So we're super excited about that. And if you've been over in the Caldwell Center on a Saturday, you'll see our plumbing apprentices throughout the building. They are a big piece of what's going on here in Caldwell. And those are some of the main focus areas. I just want the council to understand all these classes also require writing. They also require mathematics. They also require psychology and some other classes. So those classes would not go away. Again, we would consolidate some offerings for just, again, efficiency's sake more than anything else. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the president for a couple of final comments and some questions.
Thank you, Eddie. So, as we look at being more laser focused on these programs, we are looking to add more short-term and workforce training. We continue to connect with business and industry, and we are grateful for the relationships that we have with your economic development team, Stephen Jenkins and Ophelia Morales. They are amazing. They're wonderful. As our space and classrooms need change, we also see an opportunity to begin discussions about sharing space with the city of Caldwell. We know that you have space challenges, and we think we can help. We can provide some assistance. As you know, we do still have 7 years left on our current lease with the city of Caldwell. And of course, I'm not prepared to speak to any specifics this evening, but wanted you to know that we are open to these conversations, and we want to be a good partner with the city of Caldwell. So with that, I welcome those discussions and any questions.
Very good. Thank you so much. And I know we appreciate that partnership as well. Love having you here and working together, right? That's what it's all about. And so we appreciate that so very much on that. Any questions from any council members? Any comments, any discussions? So cats got their tongues tonight, so.
Boy, I could have taken more time.
Yeah, you got about an hour and 48 minutes left out of your 2 hours, so.
All right, well, where do I begin? No, I'm just kidding.
No. But again, just to
Thank
reemphasize how much we appreciate all of you, you know, Eddie and Abby and all that they do, and you as well. Just, you have a great team, you really do, and so we appreciate the willingness to work together. To really, it's all about, you know, the people that are here, the people that aren't here, that are part of this community. What's the best thing for all of them as well? So we appreciate your willingness to help, to work with us on that, and excited to work together on that and many other things in the future. So
absolutely, thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So 2 other things before we move on to our audience participation. I would like to introduce Char Jackson, if you don't mind coming forward real quick. So she is our new PIO, our Public Information Officer. So super excited to have her on board. Come on up to the mic. So So I had the privilege, along with Chief Frawley and Chief Ingram, to interview for this position, and Char just stood heads and shoulder above the rest. So we're so excited to have her to be here and a part of our Caldwell community and our City of Caldwell employees. So if you don't mind, just take a minute to introduce yourself.
Gosh, I wasn't really prepared, but certainly, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, chiefs who are here as well. It was super exciting to just be allowed the opportunity to interview here. So when I got the call that they wanted to bring me on board, I was beyond excited. So hard to believe that Caldwell has not had a PIO, because that's just super important in pushing out all of the great stories that all of the departments here have to tell. And I just think we're big enough now that it's something that is a real need for the community, and I just really look forward to, pushing out all the good information and stories and working with the community in this position.
So, yes, thank you so much. Any questions from any council members for Char? Very good, awesome. Thank you so much. I know when I was contacting her recommendations, when you get multiple people telling you you'd be the stupidest man on earth if you didn't hire her, you know that you probably need to offer them the job as quick as you can. So we're grateful to have her here and excited for the great things she's going to do for the city. So, and then one last thing before we get to audience participation is, I know that Mrs. Adams is here with a wonderful group of students. Do you mind if they introduce themselves real quick, if we went through that? Very good. Is that all of them? Excellent. Thank you so much for doing that and for being here tonight. We appreciate Mrs. Jackson and all that. Mrs. Adams. Mrs. Jackson was my history teacher at Caldwell High. So anyway, but yes, grateful to have them here tonight and all that she does for her students. So she just goes above and beyond, and really an incredible teacher. And this is her last year. She's retiring. So we'll see who gets to bring the students next year to hang out with us. So is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak on a matter that is not on the agenda before us this evening? Okay, very good. Then that moves us on to the consent calendar, and I believe we do have an amendment to the consent calendar.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I move that we move consent calendar items number 6 and number 12 to new business for further discussion.
Second.
Very good. So we have a motion from Councilor McGee and a second from Councilor Stoddick to move consent calendar items number 6 and number 12 to the new business section of the agenda. All those in favor of this request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Do we have a motion for approval of the consent calendar as amended?
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilor McGee and a second from Councilor Stoddick for approval of the consent calendar as amended. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
McGee? Yes. Register?
Yes.
Stoddick?
Yes.
Williams?
I hope not, because we need him.
Yeah,
Not just for his good looks either, so.
Mr. Mayor, I did receive a text saying that he's been in and out of coverage.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Very good. So there's a motion and a second for approval of the consent calendar as amended, Mr. Williams, and it's to you for your vote.
Yes.
Very good. So that motion passes. So that moves us on to old business. And I actually have a question. I just thought of this. So this is a continued item, action item number 1, under old business, from September 15th, 2022. Counselor McGee was not here that evening, and with Counselor Doty and Counselor Allgood not here, that leaves 3 that were present at that hearing. Do we need 4 for a quorum to finish that, or?
Mayor and council, so the only member who was not here at the prior hearing was Councilor McGee, is that correct? And the concern is that we only have 3, so the council has a quorum, it can act on its business. The vote required for this action to pass or be denied either way includes Councilor McGee, even though he's not participating. But you have sufficient, if there's a vote in either direction of 3, that should be sufficient to carry the motion.
Okay, very good. Okay. So then, yes, we'll move forward to that then. So action item number 1, thank you for clarifying that. I didn't realize, I think we were fine then. I realized that without Allgood not here, we might be up a creek, but it sounds like we're not. So thank you so much. So this is a continued item from September 15th, 2022 before City Council. So just a little background real quick on this. So the item was heard, testimony was received, was discovered that it needed to re-notice for a development agreement that was not part of the original description in the legal, went out to the paper and to the public. And so that is taken care of. Now, the public testimony portion of the hearing itself for the annexation, PUD, and subdivision were closed. Now, there was one issue where we did have an individual that was trying to get on to testify. She had signed up in neutral. Patricia Weiss was her name. Unfortunately, we did not realize that she was there waiting, and so we want to make sure to provide her, even though testimony is closed, we want to provide her that opportunity since she was denied that at the last hearing. So we allow her opportunity to testify, and then after that, any and all testimony must be strictly for the development agreement and the outlaying of that and the conditions that are outlined in that. So hopefully that's clear. Hopefully not clear as mud, but a little bit more clear than that on that. But so we'll go ahead if you want to just do real quick, Ms. Alex, and then we'll jump into Patricia.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. I don't have much of a presentation since we did speak on this before. This is a very large mixed-use project over off of Cartron Lake. The only thing that will be talked about is that there's a condition in the development agreement that needs to be modified, and that'll be engineering. We'll talk more about that. I think it's about a right-hand turn lane. You want to speak on that now, Rob? Okay. And then that's all I have, so I stand for questions.
Any questions from council?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Stoddard.
Alex, in that agreement, if I remember, they were going to donate some land for, was it the fire department or?
Correct.
And was there going to be any concessions on the city's part relative to impact fees or anything like that? Do you remember? Because I sat in on impact fee meeting here the other day, and they said that we were going to reduce some of the fees. So I don't think that's donation. Kind of bothers me a little bit because it's not a complete donation. Then.
Gotcha.
Anybody answer that?
I think Rob might have a better answer on that one.
Okay.
Good. Okay, and then maybe before we get to you, Rob, let's maybe have Patricia give her testimony, and then we'll move into that since that's more to do with the development agreement and those conditions outlined in there. And there she is. Patricia, great to have you here with us this evening. We apologize for at the September 15th meeting to not have you be able to speak, but we want to provide you that opportunity tonight. So if you would please state your name and your address, and then you'll have 5 minutes to present your testimony.
Thank you. Patricia Weiss, 9912 Hanselman Road, Manville, Texas, 77578. I own the piece of property on the corner on Highway 55 and Lake Avenue. And I am not here to tell you not to move forward with the the project. I support the project. I'm just looking for some clarification. I learned during the last meeting that the developer, Triple Dot, had been working with ITD on discussing the right-of-way on the lake side, which would be the city of Caldwell side. And I was concerned about that because no one had talked to me about right-of-way off the property on the lake side. I wanted to know what planning was being done for the Lake Avenue side. I called the mayor, I got no response. I called the city of Caldwell right away, no response. I've called Debbie Geyer, and she did provide me with the name of the right-of-way person, Vincent Tramboli, for ITD, and I did try to get a hold of him, but he did not return my calls. Obviously, I just really wanted to know what they'd been talking about and how that was going to impact my property. I did get a hold of Tanner. I appreciate being able to talk to him, and he did tell me that they were working with Josh Leonard as their attorney for that. Subsequently, I received a call from Greg Whittenberg, ITD, right away, and we discussed last week how that might be impacting my property and how we could go forward and meet as a committee to review that. In the last 2 years, I've received about 2 meetings, several different drawings of the proposed, and it's gone from, we want part of your property, we want your house, we want your barn, we want your tower. So I have no idea what the plans are for that piece of property and how it's going to be impacted by Triple Dot development. And that was my concern. I would like some conversations with Triple Dot and Josh Leonard, their attorney. I would like some clarification from ITD on options for the property. I'd like proposed dates and to kind of know how they're planning to move forward with the development and what time, what the expectation from me on turning over some of that property to them. I will be glad to travel to Idaho for meetings to discuss these things. All I'm asking for is some kind of response from the city of Caldwell and from ITD and how that's going to impact my property. And so we kind of know how to move forward. I think those are fair requests, and I would encourage, if any of you have questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them.
Very good. So before we get to questions, what I might do is have our city engineer, Rob McDonald. He won't be able to answer all of those questions, but I think a few of those he could be able to answer. Maybe the timing, it sounds like, Rob, but I don't know if you know about that for ITD. So Rob works for the city of Caldwell, our city engineer, but obviously we work closely with ITD on some of that, so we may be able to get some answers, but definitely not all of those. Do you have any information, Rob, that you could help provide?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I guess for the record, my name is Rob McDonald, and I am the city engineer for Caldwell. What I can answer on, with regards to Karcher or Highway 55, ITD does have plans to widen that entire stretch of highway from Middleton Road all the way to Farmway. I always get a little bit leery trying to estimate when they're going to do something, and so I will just tell you what I last heard was that they plan to start work in 2024, and it's probably about a 2-year project to get from one end to the other. I know that before they break ground, there's quite a bit of right-of-way acquisition that they need to do, and there's a lot of property owners that they need to talk to, and I presume that this property is one of those properties that they're going to have to negotiate with. The right-of-way that they will need to build that highway is much wider than what is currently existing out there, and so there is a lot of right-of-way acquisition that has to take place. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I don't know. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Okay. No, I think that's good. Thank you so much for that. Any questions from the council for Ms. Weiss?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Counselor
Uh,
Stoddard.
Ms. Weiss, is your property on the, southwest corner of Lake and Karcher? There's a home on the counter?
That's correct.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to get the location straight, because the other three corners, it's ag and I think there's an upholstery shop and then ag on the other corner too. So you have the residential house there on that corner then? Okay. I
Right.
got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
May I contact Rob McDonald directly to discuss these questions?
Definitely, he is shaking, I know you can't see him, but he is shaking his head yes. So,
Okay.
so yeah, I think, and even a step further, I think what we can have Mr. McDonald do is arrange, whether it's a Zoom meeting, a conference call with you, with himself, and with ITD, so that way you can get some of those questions answered. We'd love to have you come visit Caldwell in Idaho, but if we can save you the trip and get those questions answered, that way, I think we can definitely do that and have Rob facilitate that. So we've got all of your contact information. So Rob will reach out to you very near future and get that arranged for you and him and ITD to have a conference call or a Zoom call together to get all those questions answered.
I miss Idaho desperately. I loved living there and growing up there, and look forward to coming back and visiting and seeing how we can work through this. But I appreciate your acknowledgement of the questions and how we can work through these together.
Yeah, definitely. And I think those were all great questions, so not out of line whatsoever. I'd want to know those answers as well if I had property out there. So we appreciate your patience with us, and we'll definitely get that arranged and that scheduled so you can get those questions answered.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so with that, again, the continuation was, the testimony was closed for the annexation, PUD and subdivision, so the testimony tonight will be strictly in regards to the development agreement that was prepared by staff, that conditions outlined in that. And so with that, do we have?
Mr. Mayor.
So, if the applicant would please come forward. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, sorry, Councilor Williams.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if this is the right time to ask the question, but we also discussed the possibility of making that land contribution a little larger for the sake of a substation for the police station. Did that get discussed or further included or further annotated to solidify that thinking?
I am guessing that is within the development agreement, and the applicant indicated that he has some information that he'll be sharing with you here in the very near future on that as he speaks.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So, okay, so if you please state your name and address, and then time is yours.
Tanner Layton, 523 West Chrisfield Drive, Meridian, Idaho, 83646. Before we get going, I'd like to say thank you to council members, thank you to Mayor, thank you to Julie, Alex, and everyone for allowing this opportunity to present again. Making it short and sweet with it, just going on the DA. I'd also like to say that I have had the opportunity to speak a couple of times with Pat. I get to call her Pat now, with us being able to chat. Through our development, we are currently providing her access to her property through our development. I would also like to back up with what Rob stated. ITD told us as well, construction in 2024 of us working in partnership with them. So we're still having a great working relationship with Pat as well, and happy to help her with her property and what we might be able to do there as well. As far as with the fire station, we do have the ability to make it a little bit larger, as Councilor Williams asked. So we do have that ability of, it is in the development agreement. We are in agreement with the terms of the development agreement and the added conditions. And so with us already presenting and doing all of that, I will stand for questions if there are any, or how else I might be able to present and talk about our vision. But I don't want to say something wrong since we're talking about the development agreement and not that, so.
Okay, very good, yeah, so we'll just kind of go with question. Any questions from any council?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Stoddard.
So, in the last meeting we had, you said you donated some ground for the fire station, right?
Yes, sir.
Will you get some relief from impact fees because of that donation?
No, that has not been discussed, sir.
Okay, because that was my understanding at the last impact fee, meeting that I attended here this past week. that you were gonna get some relief, but you're not, so it's a full donation.
No, my father, I was fortunate enough that he is retiring in the next 2 weeks from Ontario Fire, and he was also the fire chief in Nampa, and with it being part of the Nampa Fire District as well, it's a little bit of a tribute that I get to give to him as well, of being able to donate the land, and I believe, Councilor Register is even familiar with who my father is and their working relationship, and so impact fees have not been addressed or anything. That was our way of just being able to say thank you and help the city.
Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you so much. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Attorney, impact fees are kind of where, at least I know when I was at ACC, you couldn't just waive those. If you waived them for the developer, then the entity had to pick up and pay for those. Is that correct, or is that, do you know that?
Mayor and Council, I'm not sure of the exact exchange you're referring to. Impact fees, are on occasion, if somebody has to make a payment of impact fees and contest the total amount on the basis that they are doing an improvement for which impact fees we're going to pay, that is a circumstance where impact fees may be reduced. But this is a separate obligation in the development agreement that isn't tied to the impact fees. So, there would be no, my argument would be there'd be nothing to push back against the impact fee amount at the time they were levied, because the obligation is pre-existing.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Any questions, other questions from any council members? Councilor Williams, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, again, so this is just for the development agreement. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to provide any testimony in regards to this request? Okay, let the record reflect. Oh, yes, Mr. McDonald. Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Rob McDonald, for the record, 621 Cleveland Boulevard is my work address. There is a correction that we wanted to make in the staff report from engineering. There was a requirement initially to provide right-hand turn lanes at 3 locations along Lake Avenue southbound to get into the development, primarily because of the traffic and the trip generation. The developer has indicated that they would prefer, instead of doing conventional intersections, to do roundabouts at those locations. And so if that is the proposal from the developer, then we would withdraw the requirement for right-hand turn lanes, because those become unnecessary. And that is the correction that we wanted to make. And I don't remember which number, I don't remember specifically which number that was, but we can dig that up here real quick.
Okay, very good. So would it be an either or just going with the roundabouts in those locations?
My understanding is they are planning to go with roundabouts.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Any questions for Mr. McDonald from the council? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, with that, I would stand for a motion to close the public testimony portion for this development agreement request. And a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Stoddard and a second from Councilor Register to close the public testimony portion of this hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. So that moves us on to deliberation and motion. And quick question, do these need to be separate, the annexation PUD first and then the DA, or can we do them all together?
Mayor and Council, the most significant thing is that you have a motion that expresses the desire of the council to do a thing. So if someone was to make a motion collectively for all 3 of them, as long as there's no objection, somebody wants to vote no on one of them and wants to pull it out, then the record will reflect that the council has made a decision, an affirmative or a denial decision on all of them at the same time.
Perfect, excellent, thank you so much. So with that, if there's any discussion from the council in regards to the request, and again, that's for the annexation, the PUD, the development agreement, any of that, then also a motion, as mentioned, you can wrap all of that into one motion for whether you're for approval or for denial. And I guess for the record, I would say that Councilor McGee is abstained from this item since he was not here originally. So, Councilor Williams, or on the phone, do you have any comments or discussion?
No, I don't, Mayor. I'm prepared to make a motion. I just don't have it all in front of me on my iPad to go all the verbiage I need to say, but I'm prepared to make a motion that we accept and approve the annexation and case PUD 22-00004 annexation 22-00007, and sub 22-0000114, the Charles. I don't know if that's sufficient.
Yes, and that would also include the development agreement as was discussed by staff. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So yes, I would say that was sufficient. So the motion is to approve the request of annexation 22-7, PUD 22-4, sub 22-14 for the Charles, including the development agreement with the changes as was outlined by staff. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
So a motion from Councilor Williams and a second from Councilor Stoddard. Discussion on the motion? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Williams,
Yes.
Register,
Yes.
Stoddard.
Yes.
Very good. So that passes unanimously. That moves us on to the next action item. Actually, I guess we need to close that. So is there a motion to close that public hearing item?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
So a motion from Councilor Stoddard and a second from Councilor Register to close old business action item number 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. That does now move us on to action item number 2 under old business, and this is for the annexation, where we need to consider bill number 31, ordinance number 3425, with a request to move for its passage by title only and approve the summary for publication.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Stoddard.
I'll sponsor bill number 31, ordinance number 3425, case number 8NN 22-7, the Charles Project. Move for its passage by title only and approve the summary for publication.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
So the motion from Councilor Stoddard and a second from Councilor Register for passage of bill number 31, ordinance number 3425 by title only and approve the summary for publication. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Stoddard,
Yes.
Register,
Yes.
McGee, Williams.
Yes.
So that motion passes. So that moves us on to action item number 3 under old business. And this is a legislative item for consideration of water fees beyond 5% of the previous fee amount associated with new fees related to delinquent accounts, fees for reconnection, and the customer requested shut-off fee to account for the actual cost to provide these services. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm here to present briefly some of the water policy and fee revisions that we've made. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Orton, who wasn't able to make it tonight, and I will try to fill his shoes and try to do a decent job on this. On page 268 of your packet, that's where the memorandum starts. Most of this is really just kind of bookkeeping and housekeeping, I should say, where we are just increasing the fees as we do typically at the end of the year to keep up with inflation and other things. There are 3 main points that I want to point out in this document that are changes that are worth noting. The first one is on page 270 of the packet, down toward the bottom. There's a section that talks about users using city water for irrigation water for the shoulder season, which means that they are hooked up to use potable water for irrigation outside of the irrigation window. Traditionally, this has been set up and certain developments have been allowed to do this outside of that window of irrigation to keep landscaping alive or in areas where they have just planted landscaping. Of course, they have to pay the fees to do that. This basically is limiting that to where they would only be able to do that for 1 season. And the intent there is we are striving to get irrigation uses off potable water. It costs a lot to pump potable water and keep the water quality very clean, and so we want irrigation to be using irrigation water. And so that's the intent there. They will be permitted shoulder water for a season, and that's to help them if they have just landscaped or something to that effect to get their vegetation growing. The second item is on sheet 274 and 275 of the packet, and this is probably the most significant thing. Every month, the city shuts off a number of residential and commercial units that have not paid their bill. And basically what this looks like is they can be delinquent for a couple months, and then after a couple months, they will receive the shut off, and the city crews will go shut off their water meter and lock it until they pay to get hooked back on. Sometimes we've had months where we've actually had to shut off 300 or more water meters, which is quite a bit. And so to curb that a little bit, what they are proposing is that in the past, they have been required to pay a hookup fee, which has been minimal, but they have not been required to pay their full balance that is owed to that date. They've only been required to pay the balance that was overdue, which was considered 2 months or older. And so the purpose of this is to assess the fee for a reconnection at $50, and the only way they can be reconnected is if they are completely current on their water bill up to that date. So there can't be any outstanding balance. The way that this is going to help is that instead of the person that still has some outstanding balance maybe defaulting again the next month, then we end up shutting their meter off again, and it turns into this thing where we have some customers where it's almost every month that we're doing this. If we set it up this way, then it'll go at least 2 to 3 months before we will be back to shut their meter off if they choose not to pay, because it'll take that long for them to become delinquent. And so all this is doing is it's making the reconnection fee or the reconnection fee $50, and when they get reconnected, they have to be totally current on their bill. And then the last item is on sheet or page 277 in the packet, which assesses a new fine or penalty for contractors or property owners that tamper with water valves. We've had issues in the past where contractors will be working on projects and they will go out and shut water valves off in the street without permission or without any supervision of the city. Recently, this happened by a contractor, and it caused problems because it left property owners with 0 water pressure. And the issue that runs is then you have to re-flush their lines, and they may have to do a boil order for those residents. And so it can be a big problem. And so this just stiffens and adds a penalty for those contractors that do not go through the proper channels to shut water valves off, so that we can make sure that any valve getting shut off gets opened back up for future use. Those are the 3 main things. There are fees that are increased throughout this water department fee resolution, and those fees are generally in the ballpark of 4 to 5% of an increase, except for the ones that I just explained. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. McDonald. Any questions from the council? Any questions, Councilor Williams?
No.
Yeah, very good. Okay, then, so I don't think we need to do anything else with that, right? We can move to 4 for the resolution. Oh, it is a public hearing, I apologize. So, I got ahead of myself. So there's nobody signed up in favor, in opposition, or in neutral for this request. So are there any questions for staff? Okay, is there a motion to close this public hearing item?
So moved.
In a second? So a motion from Councilor Stoddard and a second from Councilor McGee to close this public hearing item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. So that moves us on to action item number 4 under old business, which is to consider the resolution number 343-22 to approve the water system fees and policies for FY 2022-2023. Do we have a motion for approval of that resolution? And a second? Very good. So we have a motion from Councilor McGee and a second from Councilor Stoddard for approval of resolution number 343-22. Madam Clerk, is there any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you please call the roll.
McGee? Yes. Stoddard?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, so that motion passes. So that concludes old business and moves us on to new business. New business action item number 1 is the presentation for the appointment of the Human Resources Director, effective through January 2024. This is for Shelley Bogie. So myself, Councilor Stoddard was unable to, he was out of town on that, so Councilor Doty was able to fill in those interviews with Rochelle Castleberry and also Debbie Geyer were in on those interviews. We had a wonderful group of candidates. The top three that we interviewed, all of them were just fantastic. Shelley kind of risen to the top. She had some great experience in regards to other things. In regards to, she'd worked at the state of Idaho, Human Resources, actually worked with our very own Mary Kay while she was there. We confirmed with Mary Kay, and she said she was a great person to work with. And has some great experience with, recent experience working with unions, which is really great for the HR director. She lives in Oregon, so it was a drive for her, and she wanted to be here on Zoom, but unfortunately had a meeting at the same time that we are meeting tonight, so she was unable to do that. But I know she asked to have her excitement expressed on her behalf, to be able to come and be back in Idaho again, and then to be our new HR director, part of the city. So I believe you all received the application that she had submitted, had a chance to review that. So I don't know if you had any questions, either of myself or Mary Kay is here, if you had any questions for her in regards to that. And if not, then we would entertain a motion for that appointment. And do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Councillor McGee and a second from Councillor Stoddard for the appointment of Shelley Bogie for Human Resources Director, effective through January 2024. Madam Clerk, if you please call the roll.
McGee? Stoddard?
Yes.
Register?
Yes.
Williams?
Good, and that motion passes. We will let her know. I know she's gonna be very excited. That moves us on to new business, action item number 2, and I believe these are a couple of housekeeping items on that. So this is to consider bill number 48, ordinance number 3442, for case number ANN 20-5 and PUD 20-2, with a request to move for its passage by title only and approve the summary for publication. So I'll read that. I'm guessing this is an annexation that already occurred, but wait, annexation -20, is it -20 or -22? Oh. Very good. I'm like, we went back in time a little bit there, so. Okay, very good. So then I will read this by title only and move on from there. So this is bill number 48, ordinance number 3442. An ordinance determining that certain land lays contiguous to the city limits of the city of Caldwell, county of Canyon, state of Idaho, and that said land should be annexed to the city of Caldwell, Idaho, as part of the R2 medium density residential zone, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below to be a part of the city of Caldwell, Canyon County, Idaho, directing the city engineer and planning and zoning director to add said property to the official maps of the city of Caldwell, Idaho, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and directing the clerk of the city of Caldwell to file a certified copy of the ordinance and map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, state of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63-215.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor McGee.
Mr. Mayor, I will sponsor bill number 48 and move for its passage by title only.
Very good. And approving the summary for publication as well.
In summary, thank you.
Perfect. Yes, no problem. Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilor McGee and a second from Councilor Register to approve bill number 48, ordinance number 3442 by title only and approve the summary for publication. Madam Clerk, if you please call the roll.
McGee?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Stoddard?
Yes.
Register?
Very good. So that passes. That moves us on to action item number 3, and this appears to be similar to that prior one. So consider bill number 30, ordinance number 3424, for case number zone 22-3, with a request to move for its passage by title only and approve the summary for publication. Maybe do you mind just real quick, do you know the name or a little bit so we know which one this was?
Yes, this is in the 21st Street area, and the proposal is for a rezone from industrial to commercial so they can put a drive-through coffee shop in that area.
Very good, okay. So this is bill number 30, ordinance number 3424. An ordinance determining that certain land lays within the city limits of the city of Caldwell, county of Canyon, state of Idaho, and that said land should be rezoned to the C3 service commercial zone, determining that said change in zoning is in the best interest of the city of Caldwell, Canyon County, Idaho, directing the city engineer and planning and zoning director to amend said property on the official maps of the city of Caldwell, Idaho, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith. So do we have a sponsor of bill number 30, ordinance number 3424?
Street. Okay. Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Register.
I will sponsor bill number 30, ordinance number 3424. Move for its passage by title only and approve the first summary for publication.
Very good. Very good. So we have a motion from Councilor Register and a second from Councilor McGee for sponsorship of bill number 48, ordinance number 3442. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Register,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Dottie.
Yes.
Very good. So that motion passes. And that moves us on to action item number 4, case number SUP 22-4. And this is a request for a special use permit for Celeste Place, 72-unit multifamily development. And I believe that this is being requested to be continued, if I'm not mistaken. So if you don't mind coming forward and give a little background and the plans for the future of this, because I believe there are many people in the audience that are excited for this and to know what's going to happen to it in the future.
Yes, Julie McCoy, Senior Planner for Caldwell Planning and Zoning, 621 Cleveland Boulevard in Caldwell. And at the request of both the applicant and the staff, this is being continued to the next City Council meeting, which is October 20th, 6 p.m. There were some complications with the case from the prior hearing from the Planning and Zoning Commission that we're ironing out so that it will be moved to the next hearing for City Council.
Very good. So that would be October 20th.
Correct.
6 p.m.
Correct.
And here in these chambers. Do
Yes.
we have, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just said yes.
Okay, very good. So do we have a motion to continue this item to the next City Council meeting on October 20th?
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilor McGee and a second from Councilor Stoddard to move action item number 4, case number SUP 22-4, continue it to a date certain of October 20th, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. And for those leaving, the good news is it will be under old business, which means it'll get heard as one of the first items. So it's moving up on the list, so that's good. So, okay. Very good. That moves us on to action item number 5. And this is to consider resolution number 342-22, authorizing that certain real property located southwest of the intersection of Thomas Jefferson Street and Adam Smith Avenue, consisting of approximately 0.82 acres, be declared surplus property, declaring intent to convey, exchange, or offer for sale said property, and declare the value or minimum price the city intends to receive as a result of such conveyance, and set the date for a public hearing for the proposed disposition. Disposition shall be accomplished by contracting with an auction company to auction off the subject property at the regularly scheduled City Council meeting to be held on Tuesday, November 1st, 2022 at 6 p.m. And this is that property that we had, again, discussed. There's no decision made on it, but discussed about declaring it a surplus to provide some funds for the Gals Quad Complex. Mr. Waterman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mr. McDonald is pulling at things. We'll see if they can get up on the screen here. So this is, when you're going to dispose of a piece of property, it's first necessary to declare it surplus and declare a minimum value. You then schedule a public hearing at which the public can come and comment on that proposed declaration and disposal. And that, after that hearing, then the council can act to dispose of the property. This particular piece of property is part of that parcel on which the Gals Quad is located. My understanding was there had previously been some level of uncertainty about what use it would be put to, and a original plan to potentially use it as parking or as a potential pad for school expansion, and that those have not come to fruition. And so the city's desire is to allow that property to go out into the market and be put to its highest and best use, and to generate some revenue for the city, which can be used for whatever purpose it may be used for. So the item before you tonight is authorizing the property, to basically authorizing the public hearing at which the property would be, at which the public could come and comment on the proposed disposition of the property. The other information, and that would be Tuesday, November 1st at 6 p.m. is the hearing date for that. So not at your next meeting, but at the subsequent one. There was a question originally about whether it had to be auctioned off at the council meeting by the council, or if it could be just be disposed of to a, not with the value being disposed of to an auction company, but if you could have an auction company auction it. The answer is yes, you can have an auction company auction it. Once you've determined its surplus and set a minimum price, then you can contract with the company and they can hold that auction at whatever appropriate time to make sure it garners the largest amount that it can. So, like I said, tonight, declaring the property surplus, setting a minimum price, and resolving to have a public hearing on the proposed disposition of the surplus. And unfortunately, and maybe the mayor can help me with this one, I believe that the value was set with information through Mr. Orton potentially, and I'm not certain how that.
Mr. Jenkins.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure where that 5.59 per square foot came from in terms of a minimum price. Mr. Foltz is obviously your planning director, but has a lot of experience. He could potentially speak to the going rate for property in the area, if that would assist. But I can't speak to how that number was reached. Do you have any questions for me?
Good. So just real quick, so there was a summary appraisal report for the property located adjacent to this to the west, and I know that that's what Mr. Jenkins kind of used to kind of give a best guess of what he could on what that property, the minimum price on that property.
Excellent.
And so maybe I have a quick question. So it does not have to be auctioned at a city council meeting. Is that correct?
That is correct. You have to have a hearing at the city council meeting where the public can comment on the proposed disposition. But at the point that you have declared it surplus and you've had your hearing, and if you determine that you want to dispose of it, you then can choose the method of the disposition. An auction is required to make sure you get the highest value for the property, but it's not necessary to hold it here in these chambers and have it conducted by the council itself.
Okay, so we're not really doing the auction on the November 1st. That's just for the discussion for public to come in, and then we can decide that time and date to do the auction.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. That answers my questions. Any questions from any of the council members?
No.
Okay, very good. I was looking forward to either put Councilor McGee or Councilor Stoddard on the spot to be our auctioneer on November 1st, see how good they could do.
And I apologize if the wording, there's a very long, I think it's referred to as an appositive phrase in here. It's got a couple of commas on either end.
Yeah.
That it is the actual language of it. You are resolving to have a hearing on the proposed disposition, which hearing on the proposed disposition is at that meeting, and the proposed disposition method is by public auction. Yeah.
Perfect, excellent. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Is there any discussion on this resolution?
No.
Councilor McGee?
Mr. Mayor, I think with Mr. Waterman's clarification, I would move, or I'll sponsor Resolution 3422 and ask for its passage by title only and approve the summary for publication.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilor McGee and a second from Councilor Stoddard for approval of resolution number 342-22. Is there any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you please call the roll.
McGee? Yes. Stoddard?
Yes.
Register?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you so much. That motion passes. And then now that would move us to our two items that we removed from the consent calendar and moved down to regular discussion under new business. So we'll start with consent item number 6, which is now new business item number 6. That worked out. And this is to approve the request to accept the appointment of Carrie Smith, District 2 Commissioner, to serve as Canyon County's representative on the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency Board through January 2023. And I don't see any of the county commissioners here. You want to read the... So I'll just kind of give the resolution that we received and then any discussion from the council in regards to that. So this was a resolutions on September 9th, 2022. So the motion carried, split vote below. So Commissioner Smith was a yes vote, Commissioner White was a yes vote, and then Commissioner Van Beek was a no vote. But then she did also, and I'll read this into the record, it says, in support of Commissioner Smith, but opposed to the motion for District 2. So I believe what that motion was not just for Commissioner Smith to finish the term out, but that in the future, that whoever was in the District 2 would serve as a representative of the Colorado Urban Renewal Agency Board, is what she was opposed to. And so, I'll just read these. This is a chain of emails that was sent. This is from Leslie Van Beek on Thursday, September 15th, 2022 at 9:08 a.m. to Monica Reeves, Deputy Clerk, Canyon County. It says, hi, Monica. I was in favor of Commissioner Smith serving as the representative, but not designating the District 2 seat as the liaison. The document does not match the motion. We need to revise the document to show I am in favor of having Carrie serve as the UR rep for Caldwell. And then the response was, I'll forward the audio and ask the board to help decipher the motion. And then again from Leslie to Monica, we clarified. Thanks, Monica. It needs to be revised. And so at 2:29 p.m. made it clear that the motion was District 2, Carrie Smith, serving through January 2023, and that the seat serve on the Caldwell Urban Renewal Board specifically. So that's what we received from them. So, any discussion or questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Stoddard.
You know, in view of what's going on with the Canyon County commissioners, I would sure like to see this delayed until after the new commissioners take their office and have them reelect somebody to this position at that time.
Good. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes, Councilor Williams.
Thank you. Yes, that was my only concern. If this is a county representative and Commissioner Smith will no longer be with the county come January, then I agree with Mr. Stoddard. I think we need to revisit this later.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, go ahead.
About the seat two that they were talking about in there, I'm guessing that's something they're doing, so is their seat two automatically the liaison no matter what?
So, and maybe Mr. Waterman could jump into, I don't see anything in here that, it does say that that Commissioner Smith is the District 2 Commissioner, but I don't see anything in here saying that it has to be.
Because originally they had asked for somebody else, so I don't think, I'm guessing it doesn't have to be the C2. But does it have to be a commissioner at all?
It does not. So Mr. Fultz is not here anymore, but he was, when he was at the county, the economic development, the planning and zoning director. So he was the one assigned. And my understanding is that that's their plan, is they did just hire a new planning and zoning director. But no, it does not have to be a commissioner. It's up to the county commissioners who they want to appoint for that.
Just kind of follow in line with what Chuck is saying about letting the new commissioners choose who they want to represent them.
Very good. Did you have any comment, Mr. Waterman?
Yeah, yes, Mayor and Council. I'm not certain what was intended by the county's motion, but the city council can appoint an individual to that urban renewal board, but the city council can't appoint a position to the urban renewal board, which basically grants fiat authority to a separate body to move people on and off Caldwell's urban renewal board. So I think if we read the motion the way it is drafted, it appears just to be from the commissioners. It appears just to be a motion to appoint Commissioner Smith. But if it was their intent to create an automatic appointment of whomever is elected to seat 2, that wouldn't have the effect of automatically removing Commissioner Smith. That requires an action of this body or a resignation by her based on her no longer being in that seat and seeing that she fails to qualify. But anyway, all this rambling to say, if it is your intent to appoint her individually, that is fine. If it is your intent to appoint a position over which the county can just move people in and off and on that, the urban renewal board, you can't do that, so.
Yeah, my reading, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Waterman, I'm just reading their motion verbatim. Not only is your point correct, that it doesn't designate that seat, I think it's just redundant in saying what her title is. And then it says through January 2023, which is the end of her term anyway, right? And so, so I guess to clarify, if we were to approve this, it would only be through January 2023 per their request, and then the county would then submit another name in January 2023. Is that correct?
Mayor, Councilman McGee, I'd have to go back and check. I think that the council appoints urban renewal members for a term, and I don't know if those terms are a set number of years. I could check, but if that's going to be dispositive of how the motion goes, you can move to another item and come back after I have an opportunity to look. But I would, if you're appointing an individual and you don't have the ability to cap the term, then they will serve until they're removed or their term ends or they resign. So maybe it'd be helpful if I found out whether or not you have the ability to cap a term like that.
Yeah, I think so, Mr. Waterman, because to Councilman Stoddick's point, I totally understand the point that the new commissioners should then be able to nominate their own person when they come into office. I respect that, and I think that's the right thing to do. It's just my reading of this, unless the term issue is gumming this up, is that her term would expire in January of 2023 anyway. But I do like the idea of receiving some clarification, Douglas, from you as to, if that term lines up with what they have in their motion.
And I have a question about that then. Do we have to have somebody in there for October, November, and December then?
So our contractual, Mayor, Councilwoman Register, our contractual obligation with the county is, I'll find it here. County commissioner shall provide a name, but individual shall be appointed as soon as reasonably possible. At any time that the county appointee is no longer authorized or available to serve, the commissioner shall provide the name for an individual to replace them. The city shall cause the appointment of said replacement as soon as reasonably possible. And so we are obliged to appoint their nominee as soon as reasonably possible. If there are questions that make it unreasonable to proceed with an appointment on a particular night, then we can reasonably delay that until we get our questions answered. And that's not a violation of our agreement with them.
Yeah, I think from my opinion, I would certainly like to know the answer to that. Is this, are they doing this the right way? Does this line up with the terms? I personally have if indeed this is correct and she comes off in 2023, in January, I don't have an issue with that because that, of course, coincides with the end of her term as a county commissioner. But if she were to continue on, to Mr. Stoddick's point, that doesn't seem like it fulfills the agreement as well, right? And so maybe Mr. Waterman, if you could, and if it's okay with you, Mr. Mayor, if Mr. Waterman could research that and then bring that back to us at the next meeting with some more information, that at least would be helpful to me.
I would agree, because my concern was that she could continue on as a board member past January 2023, and I think that should be part of the new commissioners that have been elected here this past November, so.
Okay, and so I think we'd be looking at a continuation of this item, is that correct? And I would recommend actually perhaps November 1st, because whether it's the 20th of October and the November 1st, both of those are before the next urban renewal meeting, so just in case it gives a couple extra weeks if there's more research that needs to, I don't think it'll take that, but it gives that couple extra weeks without delaying the urban renewal appointment any more than it is, but it's up to council on that. But a motion for continuation of this item and to the date of your choosing.
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor
I
Register.
move that we continue this item until our council meeting on November 1st.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So motion from Counselor Register. We're gonna give that one to Counselor Williams. I heard him pipe in there right at the end. So, Counselor Williams, a second on that to continue that item to November 1st, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So that moves us on to, again, this would be new business item number 7, originally consent calendar number 12. Approved resolution ratifying the execution of TextMyGov partnership subscription proposal in the amount of $11,000 plus $4,400 for the first year to provide a simplified process for the public to locate information as approved within the FY 2022-2023 budget and appropriated among applicable city departments. And our wonderful city clerk is going to present this item.
We're bringing up a PowerPoint that matches the handout. I was not the one that initiated the request for this through the budget workshop process. That was actually through the mayor's office and staff at that time that was serving in a role that felt like this would be a benefit to the city. And so today I was on the phone with TextMyGov to get a little bit more of an understanding of what this program does to benefit the community. And it's definitely something that, yes, it probably would streamline the information to our residents, is that they're using their phone, which we all know is such an access point for all of us to find information, to report information, and to receive alerts. And so it's a time saver for staff as well. And then the texting program is designed for municipalities, and that's why they've designed this as TextMyGov. Oh, Rob, what did I just do? There it goes. Okay. So it's configurable. Obviously, you don't have to have an app on your phone. It's just into the text itself. You don't have to download anything. It's a customized media kit, and it has unlimited users, training, and support. So the idea of this, if someone in the community drives through an area of our community that maybe has a large pothole in it, and they're thinking, oh, I've got to let somebody know about that, maybe it's not as convenient for them to go to the website and try to search and figure out who is it that they contact. It's much more convenient for them to take their phone and then test through this program here, just text right to the city. It comes to a central location that's spanned out to the appropriate person it's taken care of and can be immediately responded to. So it really is quite a benefit of savings, and it's been brought up that oftentimes if you have to do more than 2 or 3 clicks on a website, that people just stop at that point and figure out, well, maybe that's not what I want to do today. For this, it would be an immediate response situation and would be of help to those that need something, reported quickly and efficiently. This is a way that you can actually do it yourself. This is kind of a test program that you would text hi into that. If anybody has their phone tonight and would like to do that, it makes it easy for residents and to report issues, and it would go right there. You would see how that program works with TextMyGov. As I noted earlier, this was actually through the budget process of workshops that this was presented through the mayor's office at that time, looking at how a benefit this would be to our community. And with that in mind, it was brought forward for approval within the budget and appropriated accordingly. At first year, there is an $11,000 expense to that, as well as a $4,000 to initiate that program. But the $4,000 drops off after the first initiation of it. It is totally manned through the staff of TextMyGov. It is not something that we have to keep up and do any maintenance of it on our end through our IT department or our new webmaster person that will be coming on. There is a simplified process with that. They help
us put in key words into the program, so that if somebody were to say pothole, they know exactly where that's gonna go into the program, and we'll notify that person within the appropriate department accordingly. And, they would help us initiate setting all of that up. The second sheet that I gave you is the actual span out of how it's appropriated per department. And as you can see, safety services would probably be the largest proponent of use of this. So they actually have a percentage of 11%. Every other department was appropriated 4% in order to cover the cost for this. And so with that in mind, it covers the first year, and then of course the second year will be reappropriated because it will decrease in price on that and cost for the contract. Is there any questions that I could answer?
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor Stoddard.
Madam Clerk, the problem I had with it was the difference between the 11,000 shown in on our sheet here, as far as the, new business versus the 13,600 on this sheet. I didn't.
There was an additional amount. I don't have the agenda right in front of me, but there was also an additional, well, yes, I have this one here, but the agenda actually showed, I believe it was 11,000 with or plus an addition of 4,400.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so part of that, when Ms. Castleberry put this together today, she said that the rest would be probably to the general fund to make up the difference of that for the first year. But the second year would be 11,000 straight.
Okay.
It would not have the additional 4,400
Okay.
in there. That's a setup fee basically to get it initiated.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. That answers
You
my
bet.
question.
Anything else?
Counselor McGee.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll support this, but only if we give the mayor's personal cell number as the text message
Oh,
too.
I will make a note of that, Counselor
That's
McGee.
It's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Now, I have
Duly noted. So-
Yes, yes.
I actually have a legitimate question. So if, let's say a constituent texts pothole on corner of Chicago,
Yes.
here, so that gets sent to TextMyGov, and then TextMyGov, contacts our street department?
Actually, those are already put in, so it's an automatic flow system from what I understand. So what they suggested today to me was that other municipalities have sent around a spreadsheet that says, what are your most common questions that would come to your phone in your department? They enter that, which then brings up those key words, and then it would be distributed to the appropriate department when those words are brought forward. Man, I've got a fly picking truck coming after me. So, it's on their part to help set that up. And what they were telling me today as well is if that changes where they feel like, oh, wait a minute, it's Snowmageddon, we're gonna get a different line of questions, that can easily be changed by TextMyGov and then again forwarded to the appropriate departments as needed. Okay?
So, Mr. Mayor and Debbie, if you as city clerk, or if Rob or one of the other appointed officials sees a trend, right, there's a lot more going on. They're asking about ball fields, for example.
Right.
You can contact TextMyGov, they can make the adjustments
Yes.
and make it, okay.
Yes, and not additional charges for that. That's part of the contract, is in the maintenance and keeping up of those questions. Yes.
Right. Any other questions?
I have some questions.
Yes,
Sure.
Counselor Riddick.
So it says that it can be used to receive alerts, so say intersection shutdown or
Yes.
something like that.
Yes.
So do community members have to subscribe to it to get
That's
those
what I
alerts?
understand, that there is a subscription to that then, yes, they're on that line of those alerts, yes.
Okay, and then I guess my other question goes to how it's gonna be utilized for police and fire and not having people report through that. Like who, you know what I mean, like not being able to use it as like I'm witnessing a crime or wanna report a crime through that system.
That I would not have the answer to. I think it's uses a lot more with information, maybe not so much, I would think your 911 is gonna be used for those type of things and not
I think
through
people use
text.
those kinds of things. I know Napa had alert sense that they used.
Yes.
And it kinda fell off for the community. They used it a lot more internally.
Right.
I'm in support of this, but my only concern is coming up with something so that if they do text something like crime or need police
Sure,
or
that it
something
would
like that, that
automatically
it would.
respond to a 911 situation rather than
Right,
that.
so that in case it's not manned, because people will text it
Absolutely.
to try to, thinking it's, text to 911.
So,
Yeah.
just, Mr. Mayor, I can help answer that because
Yeah.
I did exactly what, Councilman Register said to do. I just typed in the word crime, and it says, it automatically responds, it says, do not use this service to report a crime in progress.
There we
Call
go.
the city police and they use a fake number.
And then they have it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm thinking, text.my.gov is basically, a lot of the use would be through our hours of operation because it's going directly to the staff member. Now, obviously, there's some departments that have after-hour responses, and in a situation where water break, you want that to go to those responses, and so they would be watching that as well. But when it comes to crime, it's a 911 situation to me,
Yeah.
or fire would be the same situation.
Any other questions, or?
No, I was typing in council because I wanted to know who's gonna get those. And it just said, thank you for contacting the city, and then it gives the times and dates and where where our meetings are located, and then the website. So
Sure.
that's pretty cool, so it's not.
Did you
it
try,
doesn't-
what is Council Register's personal cell phone
I'm
number?
gonna put in Mayor Wagner, but it doesn't look like all of them require, now the flies at me.
I know, it's horrible.
Doesn't require somebody to actually respond, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I said, if you ask, next city council meeting, they'll send you the time and,
Yeah,
so yeah.
Sure.
all that
There's a
stuff
lot of
nice.
information that will be put into that for that very purpose. But of course, also keywords, if they really need to have in touch with a staff member, we will do that as well.
Good.
Okay, does
Okay.
that help?
Any other questions? Councilor Williams, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, very good. I think the fly attacks whoever's speaking.
It's on you now.
So yeah, whoever's talking, that's who it goes to, so.
Here,
Okay.
hit him with it.
Any other questions or any discussion? Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Register.
now I've lost it, oh, but, I, move that we approve, it was number 12, right? The resolution ratifying the execution of text.my.gov partnership subscription proposal in the amount of 11,000 plus 4,400 for the first year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilor Register and a second from Councilor McGee for approval of the resolution. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Register,
Yes.
Stoddard,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Motion passes. So that now moves us back to our regular new business, listed as action item number 6, is to consider the acceptance of the finance report. Mr. Williams, are you doing
Mayor,
that,
do you
or?
need me to handle that?
What do you say?
Mr. Mayor, I move that accounts payable in the amount of $4,260,261.12, represented by check number 164-772 through 165-236, and payroll for the amount of $969,420.15, represented by numbers 37583 through 37638, and direct deposits, accepted payments approved, and vouchers filed in the office of the city clerk.
Good, thank you. So we have a motion for the acceptance of the finance report. Is there a second?
Second.
So a motion from Councilor Williams and a second from Councilor Stoddard for acceptance of the finance report. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. So that moves us on to council reports. Councilor Register.
So we did have a historical meeting, which was very interesting. But going back to what you were talking about earlier, I was on Zoom and it was very hard to hear. So, we were talking about that earlier, about this system, and making it easier for people to hear us. But it was very interesting, and I think we're gonna, there's a really good group of people who have some really good ideas about keeping all of the history of Caldwell moving and going forward. So, thanks. Steve, well, he left, but he has a very good handle on it.
Good, thank you so much, Councilor Stoddard.
Mr. Mayor, have we issued the, check to the, Caldwell Veterans Memorial Hall yet from the July 4th?
We have not,
Oh.
looking at your shirt, actually about 20 minutes ago, I'm like, we've got to, so I know with, Basanda leaving on that, so I will check in with Brian tomorrow, see where that's at, 'cause yeah, we need to get that over to you guys,
Okay,
so.
because they were asking about that at
Yeah.
our last meeting. The other thing I have is on the airport commissioner, they will submit a name, to the council for approval to add to the board. And the other thing is, we did have a good meeting on bylaws, today, and, we have a workshop coming up on that too, but, there'll be some changes. They're gonna submit it to me first, I'll review it, and then I'll submit it to you, and and the council, and then we can just go from there, so. But
Okay.
moving along pretty good.
Very good, good to hear. Thank you so much. Counselor McGee? Very good. Counselor Williams?
No, sir, not tonight.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. So just a few things I wanted to go over. One is, just to make you all aware, so we are going to conduct a job fair for the city of Caldwell to try to fill some of these vacant positions. So that's going to be November 16th, which is a Wednesday, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at O'Connor Fieldhouse. So we're very excited for that. We want to do it as soon as possible. We also want to give our HR staff the ability, we have a lot of new positions that we need to create job descriptions for. So we want to give them adequate time so they can get those job descriptions done, because obviously we want to have those out there as well to try to fill those. So very excited for that. It'll be at O'Connor. We're going to advertise the heck out of it and try to get as many people as we can. Put some police cars and fire trucks and other big, cool-looking pieces of equipment out front there to try to attract some attention, to get people to come in and see what's going on. Maybe do like some hot dogs or things like that, just to attract as many people as we can and try to get some applications even filled out that day and maybe hire some people that day. So we're excited for that. So we'll start spreading that word. We're going to get together here in the near future to start planning that out, so you can start hearing about it, and we'll give you items that you can do to send out in your social media and other avenues to try to let people know about that. So we're excited for that. So it'll be Wednesday, November 16th. P&Z Commission. So we are actually working towards, bringing them back, getting them trained. I watched the last P&Z Commission meeting that they had was in June. It was 4 hours of almost pure torture, I hate to say, but a lot of, it was good though to watch it. There's a lot of training that we need to do with our Planning and Zoning Commission, and that was just highlighted in that. Unfortunately as well, some training for our staff. I don't think any of those staff members that were there that night are currently with the city, but a lot of procedures that just weren't really done appropriately, which just added to the confusion. There were some decorum issues, I would say, among the members as well, lack of respect, comments that were made. So we will clean that up, schedule some time with the Planning and Zoning Director, getting the city attorneys involved as well, just provide them with the adequate training that they need. I don't think that they've ever received it really, so excited to get together with that and get that straightened out. I did want to get a little feedback from the commission. We are in need of a new member on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And as I thought about that, I was meeting with some of our MIAC members actually. I always tout to them that they can make a difference in their community, even if they are a young adult. And I had the thought of perhaps if the appropriate one with the right maturity and understanding was interested, to put one of those young adults as a member of our Planning and Zoning Commission, where they're actually having the ability to discuss and be part of some of the decisions of the growth of their city and the direction that we're going. So obviously, any name that I bring forward has to be approved by the council. So before I went too far down that road, just wanted to get a little bit of your feedback. If you think that'd be a good thing to try to get some of our young adults, youth involved in making some of those decisions. So, Councilor Register, so you turned on your mic.
I like it. I like involving the youth. I think there's some really great kids out there that can gain some very valuable experience.
Very good. Okay.
Just curious, would that dovetail with the mayor's youth organization too, or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because that's what gives us a chance to get to know these youth a little better, because obviously you want somebody with a sound maturity, a good understanding. So that's where we would probably start, was in that organization, see if there's any in there, especially our executive committee. I mean, some of these youth, they are just knock your socks off, amazing, and what they do. And I know we had one gal spent the summer at Princeton on a I don't know if it was an internship or what it was, but she was over there for the summer doing, for a month, hanging out there and learning and doing. And it's just, I mean, it's amazing. These kids just, from when I was their age, it's a night to day difference. They're so much more advanced than I was. So, but yeah, if the council sounds amenable to that, we'll probably go in that direction.
Just quickly, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I liked your comment about if there was one who had kind of the gravitas and the ability to do that. It's, as you know, it's an important position. If the right person were chosen, for example, someone who spent time at Princeton, I think that would be great. What I would hate to do is, I know that some of the planning and zoning members that I've talked to feel like they haven't received the right amount of training, and they feel like they haven't, been coached in order to make the decisions that they're trying to make. So I wonder if we're just, creating more of a problem by putting someone there who's not qualified or who doesn't have that ability. It doesn't mean that there's not one of those mayor's youth advisory members who does have that ability. They may well. And I hope that there is. I would, if we go in that direction, Mayor, I've just, and I know you would do this anyway, but I would just really take your time in evaluating which one you think might have those capabilities, so.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think we do, like, have them submit a resume, even applications, so that it can be reviewed by the council, so you could get to know them a little bit better on that, so. Okay, and then, last time was just, again, no decision, but just to try to get a little direction from the council. Rob is gone, but there is a, piece of right-of-way, that somebody is interested in the city perhaps vacating, in regards to assisting in their application for a affordable housing project. When they can get buy-in from the city, it helps their application. So this would be on 21st, is it 21st Avenue? I believe right there where the Smead sign is at, that big billboard, there's a little right-of-way behind there. So it's the property that butts up between there and the freeway. And so they are hoping for a letter from the mayor's office just indicating that there's potential, and so in the letter that's drafted says that it has to be decided by city council, but potential for donation of that right-of-way to help facilitate with their project. So I told them I'd talk to the council before I sent that letter off to them, just to make sure that, again, no decisions being made, but just if there's any issues that the council had in the letter. Again, very vague, but just stating that that right-of-way is there, could be vacated, but has to be approved by city council. So, okay, very good. Yes, Councilor Williams, did you have a comment?
No, sir.
Okay, very good. Okay, and that's all I had for this evening. Is there any other comments or discussion? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you so much.